Sending love and blessings from all of your Guru Bhais here. There are people from around the world here. We've just finished a wonderful program this evening, which we'll tell you more about. But we've had a very uplifting, a very blessed time. You all were in our thoughts. I think there are maybe 30 people here or more from India. Beautiful presentations, talks by our Indian Guru Bhais that we'll tell you about more later. But we wanted to take this time to connect with you directly and to let you know that everyone here, and I believe all the devotees around the world, are all united as Swamiji's children, as Master's disciples. And this has been one of the most special days, I can say, in Ananda history and in our lives. So we wanted to include you in that.
Also, namaste. It's a joy to be with you this evening here. It's morning time for India, but as Dhyanaji has just said, we've just within a half hour ago returned from a performance of the arts, celebrating all of the creative ways that Swami Kriyananda was able to share God with other people through music, through dance, through production of plays. All of these were put together in a very wonderful, wonderful presentation this evening. Many hundreds of people were there. Today was the dedication day for the Moksha Mandir. This is a very beautiful, small building, but exquisitely landscaped and exquisitely detailed in all the finishing details for the building, where Swami Kriyananda's remains have been placed, and they're now there. And this is intended to be a pilgrimage spot. And I anticipate in the years ahead we're going to see first thousands and tens of thousands, and perhaps in future times even hundreds of thousands of people coming here to Ananda village, where the Moksha Mandir is located, to receive the blessings that even opening today, one can feel those blessings. But as devotees come to a place, a special place like this, where the remains of a great saint are laid, there is a special blessing there, and everybody who comes adds their blessings as well to that place. And so I think in the years ahead, if any of you have the blessing and the opportunity to come to this holy place, I really very much recommend that you do. Today we had approximately, I don't know the exact number, but I had heard it was somewhere in excess of 600 people who came, which is quite remarkable because Ananda village is not in a city. It's quite a distant ways out in the countryside in the forest setting, as you'll see from the slides that we're going to share with you today. We're going to walk you through the program that we had today with photographs and explain the photographs so that you too can have an experience as if you were there participating in this occasion. This mandir was conceived shortly after Swamiji passed. So now it's been a little over 2 years. He passed in April 2013, and we conceived of what would be fitting, a fitting place to place his earthly remains. And we conceived of this building at what was a favorite spot of his. When he lived at Ananda village, he had created, or the community, you could say, had created a home for him, which took the name of Crystal Hermitage. It was forest land on a hillside overlooking a river canyon. And over the years, slowly a home was built there for Swamiji, and it was expanded and expanded again. And Swami eventually created a very beautiful garden at the Crystal Hermitage, and this was a favorite of his. Some of you maybe have seen the pictures. There's a book called The Crystal Hermitage, and it's in photographs. And some of you who perhaps had known Swamiji even heard him make reference to that garden. He very much loved flowers. He loved beauty in all forms, but in the flowers, and especially he enjoyed in the springtime here at Ananda Village, the tulips would bloom. And so it became a tradition for us to plant many thousands of tulips in the fall, and they would bloom roughly at about the time, actually, interestingly, when Swamiji passed. It was at right that time in April when they were in full bloom. And so he loved to come back at this time of year to enjoy the garden. And in that garden, there was a place where he would, there was a small stage next to pools of water where he would hold concerts, share music, give smaller discourses more to the family, you might say to devotees, not the public at large, because this was next to his home, and we tried to keep it private. But over the years it developed into a very beautiful spot. So it seemed the most appropriate place for us to build this memorial building for Swamiji. And so within months after his passing, we began a campaign to raise money and to architecturally design the building. Most of the building was built by devotees themselves. We tried as best as we could to do everything ourselves with the hands of devotees and Kriyabans and disciples of Master. A few specialized things, of course, we couldn't do, but we had compatible construction help, people who were sympathetic to our endeavor. And many people in the local community or public around Ananda Village were inspired to see this building take shape. It was designed by one of the architects here in Ananda, and the craftsmanship is exquisite in all phases. It's art. It's a work of art, really. This beautiful building. And so we began construction of the building last hot season here, which would be summertime or at the end of the hot season, and did all of the earthwork and all of those things that were necessary to be done before the rainy season started here in California. And that was completed. And then that allowed the construction crews to, through the winter, complete the building. And it was completed in time for this Mandir's dedication, and this had been the goal. And so a beautiful building was being built, and it was right up until the last moment. They were continuing the landscaping and the final touches onto the building. And we had begun to send out invitations to people months and months ago, and actually even a year ago, people began to make reservations in the local area to come and attend this. And of the 600 plus people that have came, they have come from many, many countries. I don't know how many, but certainly I've seen many, many people from Europe. As Indianaji said, she estimated about 30 have come from India. I saw people here from Bangalore. There were certainly people from the NCR, and there were people from Pune, and people from Mumbai. I saw Calcutta as well. I don't know about Chennai, if Dharmarajan, if he would have seen any from Chennai or not. But there were many from all across the country, and also from other countries as well. Some in South America, I was speaking with people from Argentina today. A group come from Cuba. Singapore was represented.
South Africa.
And just about every continent had a representative coming, and it was such a lovely thing to see the respect and honor that people were bringing to share with the great saints such as Swami. I'd like to mention something that I mentioned this afternoon. In the morning, we had the dedication of the Mandir itself. This was the focal point of the weekend or the Saturday event. And in this evening, we had the performance of the arts. But in the afternoon, we had a panel of us. We're sharing stories and giving honor to Swamiji's legacy. And I mentioned something that I'd like to repeat here, that Swami had said about Master that a great soul, such as our Master, Paramahansa Yogananda, is often not recognized to the degree in that lifetime that they are in later times, centuries. And so Swamiji would say, although Paramahansa Yogananda was recognized as a great saint in the early 20th century by many, the full extent of that recognition probably wouldn't come to fruition perhaps for centuries into the future, but that Swamiji had predicted that in centuries ahead, Yoganandaji would be recognized as the guru of this age, and he would be seen in that perspective. But now you could say it's as being too close to something. We don't see it in perspective. We have to have a little bit of distance. And then with that distance, we begin to see them in full perspective. And I think we're beginning, and we are seeing that with Swamiji as well. When he was alive and with us, it was wonderful and dear to have him. But he was, as I've been with him for 40 plus years, he was always there. And so in a sense, because he's always there, I feel reluctant to say, but in some ways you take him for granted because he was always there for us. But now that he's gone, we miss him in that way, yes, but we also begin to see the greatness. We begin some of the peripheral things of a person's life begin to fall away, and the sharp features that made him who he was begin to become clear, and we begin to see that. And many of us have experienced, perhaps it's those of you who knew Swami also, and keep him in your heart, have experienced the closeness of his presence now that he has passed. They say that the great saint is, when he's in his body, he's in a sense confined, because he has to play a certain role in life. Master said, like when he took form, he incarnated as an avatar, he incarnated. He said it was like putting on a hot overcoat, but I get used to it, he said. And so it is, when you're in that form, you need to take care of it and be concerned with that immediate environment. But once you shed that, you're free, and the consciousness of a great one expands. So in a sense, the great ones become everywhere. And I've felt a great blessings in my life in these last couple of years of Swami's after his passing. And in a sense, I think I can say I feel him more now than I did when he was alive. I'm somewhat ashamed to say that because it means I should have paid more attention. But I think I've heard other people say the same thing. When we have a beautiful thing with us, sometimes we don't give it the attention really that it's due. Now, Swami, so we had the dedication, the building was finished, and we invited people, dignitaries, to come. We had, as we show the slides, we'll introduce the various people that spoke on Swamiji's behalf. And as we go through, let's share those slides. And as we see them one by one, we can pause from time to time to explain in greater detail. So let's show. And then, Dhyanaji, if you could explain a few, and then we'll share in the explanation.
Okay. Yeah, there was beautiful chanting before the program began. And as Jayaji said, about 600 people or more, I think more were there. And you see in the background of this slide, the roof of the Moksha Mandir, and people were seated out in front. You can see some of the people from various colonies, you see Dayan Keshava from Delhi, Tushti Surendra from Pune, and so there were people from all of the Ananda colonies and all of the centers, and I think probably most of the meditation groups as well.
What you see here is, I'm not sure if we have photos of the crowd itself, but what you see is this is the front few rows where the special invited guests and dignitaries were sitting. And you can see on the left there's a pool there of water, and then on the other side of that pool is where the large audience, this is one section of it. You see this is probably there's 150 people there. And as if you could imagine yourself panning to the right, you would continue that around in a horseshoe shape of up to 600, 700 people. in that direction.
This is Arjuna, one of the monks here, and he's starting off the program blowing the conch. He did a beautiful job. He blows the conch in all 4 directions to begin the Moksha Mandir dedication. Now we begin the processional, and the monks are bringing in the murtis that are going to be installed in the Moksha Mandir. This is one of the monks with the Divine Mother murti.
Again, this is Brahmachari Surya. He's bringing in Babaji, or is it Jesus? Yes, that's Jesus. He's bringing in Murti.
This was a very sacred moment. There was no music. It was very quiet, and people were very deeply moved as the murtis were being brought in. There are different ones of the monks bringing in.
This is
Lahiri
is coming in. Then this is another monk bringing Shri Yukteswar.
And this is Master being brought in. And then you can say who these monks are.
Then following with this bronze bust of Swamiji being carried on this palanquin. And you can see, some of you know the brahmacharis in the front here. On the left is Brahmachari Aditya from Pune, and that's Brahmachari Jamal, also on the right, also from Pune.
This is a special box that actually 2 years ago at Swamiji's passing, we began to write messages to go into this box, and just messages from one's heart, some special words that you want to say to Swamiji, leave with him. And you can still write those, email them. You can go on ananda.org. But this box will be put just next to the casket where Swamiji's remains are, right underneath the Moksha Mandir, right below the floor. So as I say, you can still send in messages if you would like. And they said hundreds and hundreds of messages have come in from people just thanking Swamiji, offering their love and gratitude.
There you can see on the left-hand side, the bust of Swamiji has been placed there by the altar at the front of the audience.
And Jyotishan Devi Ji began the whole program, welcoming people, and they offered a prayer. It was a very deep, moving time.
Yes, Daljit Singh from Gurgaon. Many of you know Daljit. He came in attendance and explained the significance of the lighting of the lamp. The phrase I remember him saying is just even one small spark of light can drives away the darkness. And it was a wonderful explanation, and it was so wonderful to be able to have Daljit here blessing this occasion with us.
Now we have the lighting of the lamp. So Jyotishan Devi Ji, they began by lighting the lamp, or maybe it was Daljit Ji first, and Jyotishan Devi.
And this Sri Kartikeyan Ji, he's also lighting the lamp. Many of you, when you remember Swamiji doing his large programs in some of the cities that you're watching from, you may remember Sri Kartikeyan did the introduction to many of Swamiji's discourses.
Yeah, it was very sweet. The whole time that Kartikeyan Ji has been here, he's so enjoying his time, and you can tell he's very moved by being here. This is his 3rd visit to Ananda village, and when people have introduced him, Jyotish Ji or various ones, they've said that he was like a brother to Swamiji, and that they were very close. And you'll see later he also spoke, and it was very touching. We'll get to that in a later slide.
This is Somnath Ghosh. This is the nephew or the grandnephew actually, of Paramahansa Yogananda. After the passing of Yoganandaji's father, the household at Four Gorpar Road passed to the management and the occupancy of Somnath and his wife Sarita in Calcutta.
Some of you have been to the home of Master there in Calcutta, and I think hundreds of Ananda devotees and devotees from around the world have gone there. We were just there in January with a small group from Gurgaon. But Sarita Ji and Somnath Ji had never been to Ananda village before, although Hare Krishna Ghosh and Anjali, his parents, had been. So they were just delighted to see where all the devotees who they've seen for all these years had been coming from.
This is Anand and Kirtani. They are the spiritual directors of Ananda Assisi from Italy. There's a group of 40 pilgrims came from Italy, and so it's been quite enjoyable to have devotees from Italy here. So many of the chants that we've been doing have been in Italian.
There was a beautiful choir. There must have been 80 people or more from all the colonies. They sang some of Swamiji's favorite songs, and just really beautifully sung. And so they sang at each event. They had a small group or a choir or an instrumental group.
And here's Kartikeyanji giving the initial discourse about Swamiji and about honoring his life and telling what the personal relationship and the friendship that they had. You could feel that coming through. What a lovely friendship that they had, one for the other.
I asked him afterwards, because everyone really was touched by what he said, and I asked him how he felt inspired to say that. And I'll tell you a couple of things he said in a moment. He said he just felt it within his heart, and he didn't speak with notes. He spoke just straight from his heart. And the first thing he said was, I have mixed feelings. I miss Swamiji, but also I know that he is free. And then he went on to say that he didn't know of any other master, any other great saint or master who had such devotion to his guru, and that he knew many great saints and masters around India, but he didn't know one other who had such devotion as much as Swamiji had for Master. The other thing he said during his talk, he said he's been to many communities, spiritual communities and all, but he'd never felt one that had so much joy, and that typically when he came, he would spend his time with Swamiji, but when Swamiji was no longer here, he said this time he was able to go into the homes and meet the families and go into the businesses and offices, and he got to see all the people that Swamiji had touched, and he said there's so many joyful people here, and everywhere I went there was joy and there was bliss, and I felt Swamiji in the people here. So he's been very moved by his visit to Ananda.
And here, after Kartikeyanji, Jyotish Ji is giving an introductory discourse, something that behind the scenes of this, as the dedication was taking place at a very astrologically auspicious time that had been determined. And so in the weeks preceding this, or in the days preceding this, they rehearsed each of these sections of having the procession that you all see in the initial procession that started, so that it would end up the timing of the installation of Swamiji's bust into the Mandir would take place at an appropriate astrologically auspicious time. And so it turned out to be that it went just according to plan.
I should add too that there have been rain clouds every day for the past few days, and it was predicted that there was 70% chance of rain on Friday and Saturday. Today, much less, but I think a few drops came down. But the programs went ahead, and the sun came out just at the moment when the program was about to begin to dedicate the Moksha Mandir. First it was chilly and everyone had shawls on and blankets or whatever, and then the sun came out and people started taking their shawls off, and it was a blessing from Divine Mother just to say when the sun came out. It was a very special moment.
And then of course Deviji also followed with a very touching and moving discourse honoring Swamiji.
Now is the procession to go down into the Moksha Mandir. And so various people, the monks carried the murtis and various ones of the colony leaders. This is Riman and Padma, who are the spiritual directors of Ananda in Seattle. And so they are carrying flowers to offer to the murti as they...
Here again, each of these murtis is installed in a small niche in the mandir itself, a little altar space for each one in each of the directions, and each one of them has their own spot in the mandir.
This was a very, very special time too, and there was just Swamiji chanting Om being played during that time. And as we passed by with the murtis and the flowers, everyone's devotion was very focused on bringing their devotion and their love into each of the murtis.
This is Nayaswami Daiva and Gangamata. They are the directors of our work in Portland, Oregon.
Go ahead.
This is Nayaswami's David Praver and Asha Praver. They are the spiritual directors of Palo Alto, Ananda Palo Alto, south of San Francisco.
Babaji Murti ahead of them.
Some of you, I'm sure, recognize Dharmadas and Nirmala. They are directing the Ananda colony in Sacramento, California, which is quite close to Ananda Village. It's a drive of about 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hour drive away, and they have a community in that city.
Yeah, and for those of you who know Kameni from Bangalore, Kameni, Manju, and Neelam, they're here. And Dharmadas Ji was able to take them around and show them Ananda Village. And we just saw them at the program tonight, and they're having a lovely time too. These are more of the murtis going down into the Moksha Mandir.
This is Nayaswami Kirtani and Anand from Assisi, Italy. They, as I mentioned earlier, they brought a contingent of about 40 devotees from their congregation there in Italy. And I think I see Diana right there, representing India.
And the murti was Master, which Dion was carrying in front of me.
And
this is
that's
the prayer
the prayers.
box.
And the bust. And you can see here, that's Brahmachari Devendra, who many of you know from Gurgaon.
And then the rest of those in the procession follow the murtis and the bust of Swamiji into the mandir. Jyotishan Devi Ji, Kartikeyan Ji.
Somnath and Sarita. And there you can see the entry there. The Jamal and Aditya are bringing the Murti in to install it on that pedestal there you see on the right side where the flowers are. They're going to place it there. And this is in the entry. The entry into the Mandir is on the left side, which you cannot see.
And then there was malas were placed. There were 2 malas placed on the bust of Swamiji. One brought by Kartikeyan Ji and one was made here. And then they were sprinkled Ganga gel on the bust of Swamiji. Kartikeyan Ji and Naya Swami's Jyotish and Devi.
This is a photograph from the inside of the Mandir. The Mandir overlooks a river canyon in the direction you can see that they're looking. Jyotish Ji is leading everybody in a prayer and a microphone. Obviously the many hundreds of people outside could not enter in all at the same time, and so the Mandir we had about 30 people inside at this point, and he was leading everybody in a prayer. After the prayer, there was a period of meditation that we entered into for 15 minutes, and then after every 10 to 15 minutes, a bell would ring, and then another group of 30 would come in, one after the next.
And you see in the front row there, there were some of Swamiji's relatives that came for the day and a couple for the weekend. Swamiji's cousin, Marjorie. I'm sorry you're not able to see their faces. And then Swamiji's nephew, Dave, and his daughter, Ellen. And they have all been here at Ananda Village numerous times, and were especially wanted to be here today.
There's a nice view of out through the windows out into the canyon. This was the view that Swami had also from his apartment at the Crystal Hermitage, looking in this direction. And you can see there that nice arch, that glass arch with the light and the flame in it on the top of the arch. That is right over where Swamiji's remains are below the floor level at that point.
This is just a nice picture with Dayan Keshava. And this is at the Shrine of the Masters and our little gift shop that's right there as well with Sharita Ji and Somnath Ji.
In the afternoon, we reassembled after people had a chance to have lunch. We reassembled and had our panel of speakers sharing reminiscences and impressions and discussion of the legacy of Swami Kriyananda. And this is Naya Swami Gyandev, and he's the director of Ananda Yoga, the Hatha Yoga, Ananda Yoga, our programs, and has developed those Ananda Yoga programs. And he's doing the introduction of the speakers.
This is someone you may know. Jayaji was one of the speakers on the panel.
By the way, all of these events were broadcast live this morning on the web, on Ananda Online, but also they will be put on for viewing. They'll be posted on the web within a few days. And so they're very inspiring, and I think the talks that were given by the various panel members, I think you might enjoy listening to them in addition to the actual dedication itself. Kirtani
Ji also spoke from Ananda in Europe and Italy.
And Shurjo gave a very nice discourse also. We could only speak for 10 or 15 minutes each of us, but Shurjo encapsulated a very wonderful spirit, or expressed a wonderful spirit for his service to Swamiji in his last years.
Yeah, He said that he spent the last 7 months of Swamiji's life with him every day, and he and Narayani, they took care of Swamiji, of all of his needs, and helped him, and so he was almost like Swamiji's son, you could say, during that time, and he had very touching stories of his time with Swamiji, and people really enjoyed his talk.
I think he made a wonderful point. He said it's because of the necessity of the physical necessity of the situation in which he found himself, of having to care for Swami very closely, because Swamiji in those latter months of his life, that last year, he had become slowly more infirm. He needed quite a bit of physical attention and care, and he found himself thinking all the time about Swamiji. What are we going to do today? How might I be needed to help him? And he found in that process of being, you might say, by the press of circumstances of having to think of Swamiji all that time, he found that he started to become in tune with that flow, just like we're instructed to think of the Guru all the time. Well, he found that circumstances made him think of Swami, and he found his consciousness changing.
Narayani also spoke and told some very beautiful stories of Swamiji. You'll certainly want to hear these talks, and they'll be available for you can listen to.
And this is Anand telling some quite humorous stories of Swami in his time with him in Italy. And finally, the last speaker was Swami Asha, and she summed up very beautifully the principles of Swamiji's life and the need for attunement, and the impact that Swami had upon all of our lives.
And this is our last slide as well.
You'll be seeing, as we've said, and by the way, if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to send those questions in. You'll be seeing these posted online in within a few days. I think something like this, when you have a ceremony, you have an occasion to be able to honor somebody that all of us loved very deeply. It has as I echo what Sri Kartikeyanji said, it's mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, you're very happy for Swamiji, and you're very happy that in the sense that he attained his freedom, and it's joyous to be able to celebrate and to remember that. But it's also a little bit of bittersweetness because you miss him. I miss him. I mentioned earlier that perhaps we take him for granted, and his presence had always been there. But Swamiji was such to me, a unique individual. I had never met anybody quite like him before meeting him, and even after meeting him. I never met somebody just who had embodied all of these qualities, great qualities, but expressed them so naturally. It wasn't, he wasn't a person who you felt was feigning spirituality. It was just who he was. He wasn't playing a role. He was Swami Kriyananda, and you could feel that his sincerity as a devotee, his sincerity as a disciple, was something that each of us who were associated with him, we wanted to have that same sincerity. He modeled the behavior of how a disciple should be. And so seeing that in him, and he never, it made it easier for us. He never held himself at a high level. And one thing he never did, he never tried to convince other people by saying, well, I should know better because I was a direct disciple and lived with masters these years. He never did that. He was always humble. He was always somebody who understood what each of us were going through in working out our relationship with Master. And I just felt after when I first met him, I was intrigued because I had met a number of great saints and saintly people, at least before that, but somehow they weren't mine. And when I met Swamiji, I thought, I like this man, but I didn't know why. And it took me quite some time to understand why, because it started with the feeling. And often on the spiritual path, that's where we begin. We begin with the feeling that we have in the heart, and we begin to develop that feeling. And then the mind comes later. Just as we say in yoga, the mind follows the heart. But that heart can tell, yes, there was something there. And I think all of you know what I'm trying to say. You have that feeling that, yes, this is my path. This is my guru. This is my spiritual family.
Yeah. And I think to close, the feeling of the weekend, and tomorrow we go to see The Answer, the movie about Swamiji's time with Master. But the feeling of the weekend is just it's very sacred, but it's very joyful. And people from everywhere who loved Swamiji, who received his guidance and his direction, and who received his love. They're all gathered here, and every event, every occasion, every meal, as you walk down the roads here at Ananda, people stop and talk with you, and it's like a family reunion, and we're all Swamiji's children, and it's just a very uplifting vibration, and you can feel Swamiji here in the heart. And one thing Narayani said during her talk was that she had tried, I won't go into the whole story, but she had to try to understand the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, Swamiji wrote the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and she was invited to read some of the pages, and her English wasn't very good, and she brought a dictionary with her and tried to figure out what Swamiji was saying. And he said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, I want to understand, what you're writing." And he said, "Don't worry about that. You will feel it." And she ended with that in her talk, saying, those of you who haven't met Swamiji physically, and that's quite a few people now, that you will feel from his writings, from his music, from the people you meet, from coming to the centers, from the online classes, from coming to Ananda Village, from all the various things, from doing Ananda Yoga, from the techniques, from taking Kriya and becoming a Kriyaban. You will feel him. And he was the channel for Yoganandaji to come to us, and he's very much alive. You feel, I think more than any other time since his passing, from this weekend and in the Moksha Mandir. And also we felt to say that also they recreated Swamiji's office, where he wrote many of the books that we all enjoy. There's the old typewriter that he used to write the path on from way back many decades ago, and the chair that he used in his desk, and everyone was able to go and see his old office. And also we were able to go not into his meditation room, but the room right next door, which was a closet before. They've taken the wall down and put up a glass. And so you can sit on the other side of Swamiji's meditation room and look through that glass, and you see his chair, his pillow, all of his altar things, and more than see, you feel the vibration coming from that room. And that was just opened this weekend as well. And Swamiji's bedroom, people were able to go in there, and the sitting room where he spent so much time, and his special chair was there. And these places are very holy. And I remember one talk of Swamiji's where he said, he was talking about pilgrimage, and he said, we're creating pilgrimage places. And that really struck me, because we go to all the pilgrimage places, but after this Moksha Mandir opening, I felt this is certainly a pilgrimage place. He's exactly right. People will come from around the world to go in there and feel the vibrations that I think are more powerful than any spot at Ananda. And so I hope you all are able to, at some time, come to Ananda Village, meet your Guru Bhais here in America, and there are people from around the world who live here as well. And we hope that you're able to feel the vibrations from the weekend.